When we talk about the theme of karma and irony in the context of this story, it's not just about the superficial idea that what goes around comes around. It's about the intricate way in which human choices, values, and timing shape outcomes in life, and how those outcomes can sometimes swing back in ways that seem poetically just. In the case of a woman leaving her husband for being poor, the essence of the irony lies in the fact that her decision is rooted in a momentary snapshot of his circumstances, not in the full picture of his potential or his character. This choice, made for immediate comfort or perceived security, sets into motion a chain of events that eventually turns her reasoning on its head. The core of this theme is about the wife's value system at the beginning of the story. She looks at her husband and sees his lack of wealth as a defining flaw, something that overshadows all other traits he might have: kindness, ambition, loyalty, work ethic. In her mind, financial status is the foundation of a good life, perhaps because of her own upbringing or the social environment she inhabits. People in her circle might value outward appearances, social class, and the ability to spend freely. This mentality can create blind spots, making it easy to overlook intangible qualities that often matter far more in the long run. Karma enters here not as some mystical force but as the natural consequence of short-sightedness. By prioritizing material comfort over emotional connection or shared goals, she unwittingly pushes away a partner who might have been willing to work tirelessly to create the stability she desired. Her rejection isn't just a personal insult, it's a powerful motivator. For the husband, being abandoned for poverty is a deeply wounding experience. This pain can fuel a transformation, pushing him to prove, to himself more than anyone, that his worth is not tied to his bank account. While she might expect him to sink further into hardship, the exact opposite can occur. His resilience, intelligence, and perseverance led him to success. This is where irony begins to form its shape. The wife leaves thinking she's escaping a life of scarcity, imagining she will find someone who already has the wealth she craves. She may believe her decision is final and unchangeable, that her ex-husband's story has already been written and will always be marked by struggle. But in reality, the story has just reached a turning point. The very man she dismissed starts writing a new chapter, one that elevates him far beyond the version she once knew. Years later, when their paths cross again, she's confronted with a reality she never considered, that the poor man she discarded is now someone whose success and presence command admiration. Karma in this story is also closely tied to timing. Human beings often underestimate how quickly circumstances can change. A person's financial situation, career status, or even social standing can shift dramatically in a few years. In the wife's mind, the poverty she sees in her husband at the time of the divorce is permanent, because she is basing her judgment on the present moment without accounting for growth. Her failure to believe in his potential is one of the roots of the story's eventual twist. This is the type of karmic irony that strikes hardest, when the opportunity to share in someone's journey is lost forever because of impatience or superficial judgment. Another layer of this theme lies in the public nature of the twist. If the husband's transformation were to happen quietly, the irony would still be real, but the impact would be smaller. In this scenario, however, the wife invites him to her wedding, possibly as a display of magnanimity, as though she is showing the world she's moved on, while also proving to herself and others that she made the right choice. But irony turns her attempt at social theater into a stage for her own embarrassment. Instead of being a quiet footnote in her life, the husband's new reality becomes a public revelation, witnessed by her friends, family, and new spouse. In that moment, the balance of power and perception flips entirely. It's worth noting that this kind of karma isn't about revenge in a vengeful sense. The husband's success is not necessarily born from a desire to make her regret her decision, though that may be a natural side effect. It's more about his personal evolution and determination to rise above hardship. Irony emerges because her earlier assumptions about him were fundamentally wrong, not because he plotted to humiliate her. This distinction matters because it frames the story not as a petty exchange of blows, but as a lesson in the unpredictability of life and the danger of shallow judgments. The emotional weight of this theme comes from the fact that the wife's earlier choice may have been understandable from her perspective at the time. People often make decisions under pressure, influenced by fear of financial instability or the desire for a better life. These fears can feel real and urgent, but the cruel twist of irony is that in trying to avoid an imagined future of struggle, she instead sets herself up for a real future of regret. Seeing her ex-husband's success, wealth, confidence, perhaps even happiness, forces her to reckon with the idea that her life could have looked very different if she had valued other qualities over immediate material gain. There is also a societal dimension to the theme. Many people, consciously or unconsciously, absorb the belief that a person's worth is tied to their financial status. This creates stories like this one, where relationships are treated almost like investments. If the returns aren't high enough in the short term, the investment is dropped. The irony, of course, is that some of the best returns come from patience and faith, qualities the wife did not have in this case. Karma, in this sense, is not mystical but deeply practical. Had she stayed, she might have shared in the very prosperity she now sees from afar. Another interesting angle is how the husband's transformation challenges the narrative she's built for herself. After leaving him, she may have justified her decision with the belief that he simply lacked ambition or capability. His presence at her wedding as a successful man destroys that narrative in an instant. The irony is sharp because it reveals not just that she was wrong about his potential, but that she may have been the one holding him back. By removing herself from his life, she might have inadvertently freed him to grow in ways he couldn't when their marriage was clouded by her dissatisfaction. Even more powerful is the way the story forces reflection on what success actually means. In the wife's mind at the time of the divorce, success was synonymous with having money right now. In the husband's journey, success is about building something lasting, proving to himself and to the world that he could overcome the label of poor that defined him in her eyes. When their paths cross again, the irony cuts both ways. She sees that her version of success was short-term and transactional, while his was earned, authentic, and ultimately more admirable. This theme also plays on human pride. At the wedding, the wife likely expects to be the center of admiration, the one whose life is improving while her ex's has stagnated. When the reverse is revealed, it's not just her private expectations that are shattered, it's her social image. The guests' reactions add to the sting of the irony. They may whisper, exchange knowing looks, or silently reassess their opinion of her. In this way, the public nature of the event magnifies the karma at play, turning what could have been a personal moment of realization into a spectacle she cannot control. Finally, the reason this theme resonates so strongly is because it taps into a universal truth: life's outcomes often defy early predictions. People evolve, circumstances shift, and the very traits that seem insignificant in one season of life can become invaluable in another. The wife's story becomes a cautionary tale about the danger of making permanent decisions based on temporary situations. The irony is not just in her ex-husband's success, but in her inability to see that the qualities that would eventually make him successful, determination, intelligence, perseverance, were there all along, just waiting for the right moment to bloom. In the end, karma and irony intertwine to create a narrative where the tables turn in a way that feels both inevitable and entirely unexpected. The idea of a dramatic twist at the wedding in this story is built on layers of tension, expectation, and social performance. A wedding is not just a private exchange of vows, it is a public display of status, relationships, and personal choices. It is an event where every detail, from the venue to the guest list, becomes a signal to others about the life the couple is stepping into. In this case, the twist hinges on the fact that the bride has invited her ex-husband to attend, a man she divorced for being poor, believing that his presence will subtly reinforce her narrative. She may think that having him there will make her seem gracious, mature, or victorious, as though she has moved on to something better. What she doesn't anticipate is that his arrival will shatter that narrative in front of an audience that matters deeply to her. The act of inviting him in the first place suggests a degree of overconfidence on her part. It is as if she sees him as no threat, a relic from a past she has outgrown. She imagines him walking in wearing modest clothes, sitting quietly, and blending into the background as she basks in the spotlight. In her mind, his presence will be an unspoken reminder to her guests of how far she has upgraded in life. What she fails to consider is that people can change drastically over time, and appearances, especially at important social events, are rarely what they seem. She underestimates him because she believes she still knows him, when in reality, the man she once married and left has gone through a transformation she could not have predicted. The drama of the twist lies in the reversal of expectations. Guests may arrive knowing the story, that she left her ex because he had nothing, and now she is marrying someone better. This backstory colors their assumptions before the ceremony even begins. When the ex-husband arrives, however, those assumptions start to crack. He may step into the room with a level of confidence that immediately draws attention. His appearance might speak of success, tailored clothing, an air of ease, perhaps even arriving in a way that signals financial achievement. It is not just the material indicators that shift the energy in the room, but the fact that he carries himself like a man who has long since stopped being defined by the rejection she gave him. For the guests, the contrast is striking. Instead of pitying him or viewing him as a shadow of her past, they see someone who has clearly risen in life. The subtle expressions and body language of the people around her become part of the unfolding tension. Whispers begin. People exchange glances. Some may even compare him to the groom standing beside her, making silent judgments she can almost feel. The day that was meant to cement her place in a better life suddenly has an undercurrent she can't control. Every interaction, every look, every polite greeting from her ex carries a weight she did not foresee. The twist is amplified because weddings are so heavily tied to image and perception. A bride is typically at the center of admiration, her choice is validated by the guests' attention and approval. But when an unexpected shift occurs, especially one that undermines the core story she has been presenting, it disrupts the delicate social balance. In this case, her ex-husband's success is not just a private truth, it is on display for all to see, making it impossible to ignore. It is one thing for her to learn in private that he has become wealthy or influential, it is another for that truth to be revealed in a public setting where her friends, family, and new in-laws are watching. There is a psychological dimension to why this twist hits so hard. By inviting him, she may have wanted to prove, to herself and to others, that she holds no resentment, that she is confident in her choice to leave him. But his transformation calls the validity of that choice into question. If he was capable of becoming this successful, was she wrong to leave? Did she give up something valuable too soon? These questions don't have to be spoken aloud to cause discomfort, they hang in the air, silently reframing the story for everyone present. The twist works because it doesn't just surprise her, it forces a reevaluation of the past for everyone who knows it. The ex-husband's presence also introduces an element of quiet power. He doesn't have to say much to create an impact, his very existence in that moment is enough. The irony is sharp because he is not there to disrupt the wedding, he is there because she invited him. The situation is one she engineered herself, believing she was in control, only to discover that the dynamics have shifted entirely in his favor. The guests might sense it immediately, noticing how poised he appears, how easily he interacts with others, perhaps even how warmly he is received by some who were originally on her side. The more at ease he seems, the more the imbalance between expectation and reality grows. From a storytelling perspective, the wedding is the perfect stage for this twist because it heightens every emotion. Weddings are already emotionally charged environments, where joy, nostalgia, pride, and even subtle competition mingle together. Introducing an unexpected reversal into such a setting magnifies its effect. The bride's reaction becomes part of the drama, whether she tries to mask her surprise, avoid eye contact, or overcompensate in her interactions with the groom. People notice these things, and the social theater of the day shifts from celebrating her union to quietly observing the tension. The groom's position in this twist is also significant. Depending on his personality, he might feel the shift as well, sensing that attention is being drawn toward someone else. He may not know the full history, or he may know it all too well and find the comparison unsettling. Either way, the ex-husband's presence forces him into a role he didn't expect to play on his own wedding day, competing, even silently, with the ghost of his bride's past. This layer of tension only makes the twist more impactful, as the event becomes not just about her choices but about how those choices are perceived in light of the new reality standing before them. Another factor in the drama is how different the ex-husband's arrival is from her mental image of him. She may have pictured him looking worn down or ordinary, the way he did when they parted. Instead, he is the embodiment of the life she thought she could only achieve by leaving him. This gap between her expectation and reality is where the emotional jolt hits hardest. It's not simply that he has done well, it's that he has done so well that his presence forces everyone to reconsider who truly won when the marriage ended. The twist also challenges the social narrative she may have been telling since their divorce. If she built her identity around the idea that she had to leave him to improve her life, his success makes that story harder to sustain. Guests who have heard her version of events might start piecing together a different perspective, one where her decision was less about self-preservation and more about impatience or misplaced priorities. In this way, the wedding becomes a stage for not only celebration but also quiet judgment, with her reputation subtly shifting as people reinterpret her past actions in light of new evidence. The sheer visibility of the twist ensures that its impact lingers long after the event. Guests will remember the moment he walked in, the way he carried himself, and the atmosphere that changed without a single confrontation. The image of her ex-husband's confident presence will live alongside their memory of her wedding day, altering the way they talk about it in the future. This lasting effect is part of what makes the twist so potent. It doesn't just disrupt the day, it changes the story people tell about it. The beauty of such a twist is that it operates on both personal and public levels. Personally, it forces the bride to confront a reality she had either ignored or never considered. Publicly, it shifts the perception of her choices, perhaps even sparking sympathy or admiration for the man she once left. The contrast between the story she intended to present and the one that actually unfolded is where the full force of the drama resides. It's not a loud or chaotic disruption, but a quiet, undeniable shift that changes the meaning of the day for everyone involved.